Government's job is to provide good governance. And good governance is about touching lives and creating opportunities for citizens to thrive through strategic policies. And this has been the hallmark of Professor Babagana Zulum's 10-pact development agenda in Borno. Welcome to Borno Restoration. I am Jessie Tofida. But first, let's bring you up to speed with Borno Today. An early morning visit to Muna al-Badawi IDP camp. The governor is here with good tidings for these internally displaced persons. Governor Babagana Zulum explains that the move is in compliance with President Tinubu's declaration of emergency on food security and to complement his effort to ameliorate the sufferings of people caused by the removal of fuel subsidy.
Yesterday I had a meeting with the stakeholders, especially Metropolitan Nigeria, with a view to identifying about 100,000 vulnerables within Maiduguri and its environs. An additional 200,000 people will be carefully selected among the remaining 25 local government areas of the state of food and non-food items. In continuation of the distribution of the palliatives, we are here in Muna Garage IDP camp to provide food and non-food items to the vulnerables.
One after another, the IDPs take home 5,000 naira each, a bag of rice, beans, condiments and clothing materials. She says, "We are surprised to see the governor this morning with food and cash assistance to us. It is indeed timely and we appreciate his effort and our President Tinubu." This one says, "I'm sincerely out of words seeing this gesture today. You can imagine how excited I am as a widow with 6 children. We pray Allah bless our leaders." Governor Zulum stresses that his administration will prioritize the welfare of the people and ensure that all measures are put in place to cushion the hardships faced by citizens. The distribution was also carried out in Kukawa Local Council, Baga, Krosskawa and Durumbaga. The smiles on the faces of these IDPs shows how delightful they are with this gesture, which they believe will go a long way in alleviating their sufferings. It's a gathering of Goza indigents from the southern parts of the state. They are here to chart a way forward on how best they can contribute their quota to the development of the state and country.
Our own aim of this program is, as I said, to make sure that our participation in politics increased. We're calling on the government to include our brethren since they participate in the politics of the state, the local government and the national. We want Mr. President, the local government chairman, all our representatives, we're calling on them that they should make sure they work with all the security apparatus to bring peace to the land.
Stakeholders from the forum task government at all levels to ensure inclusiveness of citizens in all their plans and policies. This they believe would go a long way in achieving greater participation of all in developing the nation.
What we have lost, we want to achieve them back. Our lost glory, we want to achieve it back. And we are soliciting with His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Borno State, because definitely he has us at heart. So we want him to carry us along in whichever things he's doing.
Clergymen, on their part, urge Nigerians to always pray for those in authority for improved governance.
They are coming together as a family to look at issues that not only affect them, but that affects all Christians in Borno State and beyond, and to come up with a way and a strategy on how to go about addressing them. We want to see results, and by the grace of God, with a level of commitment and determination, I'm saying I think there will be results. They may not be immediate, They may not be complete, but we can start from somewhere. But what we want to see is to see clear and just results at the end of this conference.
The conference concludes with appreciating efforts of the Borno State Governor, Babagana Zulum, for his concern to the plight of IDPs from Goza and those returned back to their places of abode. The alarming number of out-of-school children in the northeastern states of Borno, Yobe, Adamawa, Taraba, Bauchi and Gombe states is of concern to government and humanitarian partners. It is why UNICEF and governments of these affected areas organized this seminar. The meeting is to chart a way forward on how best to scale up evidence-informed interventions on foundational literacy and numeracy.
Is really to showcase what has worked in making sure that children are learning and the different types of methodologies, different type of programs that has earned us the ability to teach children to learn better. And so there are different programs that are being piloted and have at this point have proven to be successful. Our pilots and some of that scale up to dates of the different programs have already benefited at least 500,000 children.
Stakeholders at this meeting tend to give special consideration of the ongoing humanitarian development nexus in the region. It will also serve as an avenue to share experiences on how far educational interventions assisted the region.
We found these models to be highly effective, across various LGAs in the Bay States. And so we are bringing this evidence to the table because ultimately we want to scale this up in the northeast of Nigeria. So we've got to make sure that we have the right infrastructure in place to kind of decrease those class sizes. But more than that, we need qualified teachers. So teachers who have the capacity to teach well, and that we can begin to reduce those class sizes. You need to improve learning in the classroom is that you've got to have teachers who know how to teach the science of reading well.
This seminar is expected to convene educationists, government officials, and civil society organizations diverse ways to foster teaching and learning in their domains. More than 70% of infants in Nigeria are denied the right to breastfeeding in their formative years. That's according to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. The federal government, on its part, claims that about 80,000 child deaths are prevented annually through exclusive breastfeeding. Coming down to Borno State, 58% of infants are not exclusively breastfed for 6 months, which is of concern to UNICEF.
We must therefore improve sensitization and enlightenment on the benefits of early initiation of breastfeeding and exclusive breastfeeding in communities and in health centers. We must initiate policies that support women, especially displaced mothers, to sustain exclusive breastfeeding for up to 6 months.
Another issue of concern is the culture of giving birth at home in this part of the country, thereby reducing the level of awareness on importance of exclusive breastfeeding. Research reveals that about 2/3 mortality in infants occur as a result of malnutrition, which is closely related to poor breastfeeding practices.
Nothing can duplicate the nutritious elements of mother's milk. And so I think there is lack of information, lack of awareness, and this is why mothers are not using their own milk because they think maybe powder milk is better. Mother's breast milk is the magic bullet. It's going to keep and safeguard that child from diseases and illnesses that are common to young children, and it also helps that child to develop in the appropriate manner. So this is really, it is free, it is of no cost, and it is the most nutritious that you can provide a child.
As the world commemorates the Breastfeeding Week, UNICEF urges government to review maternity protection policy and adopt the extended 6 weeks month paid leave to working mothers. I had a chat with the special advisor to Professor Babagana Zulum on public relation and strategic planning, Issa Gusau, on some of the restoration mission of the state government. Take a listen. Welcome to Borno Restoration. Infrastructure and human development have been all-time high since Professor Babagana Zulum assumed office as the executive governor. Tell us how his 10-pact development agenda contributed to the state's success story when it comes to socio-economic advancement.
I think one of the benefits of Professor Babagana Umaro Zulum, or some of the unique qualities of him that the people of Borno have benefited from, in my opinion, are about 3 to 4 things. The first one is that he's an engineer. You know, engineers by their nature are driven by all kinds of developments, particularly infrastructure. Even though he's not a civil engineer, he's an irrigation engineer, but like some people will tell you, an engineer so he's an engineer. And even in the water sector where he specialized, there are lots of infrastructural things there. And then his background. Zulum was a rector in Ramat Polytechnic, and while he was a rector under the Shetima administration, he brought about a lot of transformation at the Ramat Polytechnic. So in other words, he had the experience of doing some public sector infrastructural works while he was there. And then as Commissioner for Reconstruction, Rehabilitation and Resettlement under the Shetima administration, 30,000 houses were built during the Shetima administration, and it was Zulum that coordinated, the whole of that. So he came with all of that background. And then being a commissioner of RRR, one of the things about RRR is that it's interwoven. It's just like information. The Ministry of Information, for instance, is involved with virtually all the activities of all ministries or office of the SSG. So the Ministry of RRR is involved in all the sectors. So Zulum had the advantage of having a fair knowledge of what obtains in all the ministries. And then ultimately, which is far more important than everything, is the man's commitment. Professor Zulum is someone that is extremely committed. To be honest with you, when he started working as a governor, I started working with him. Not that I didn't trust him, but normally as a journalist, journalists, we have critical mindsets. We are always suspicious. We are like academics. We see things from different sides. So I saw him, I said, well, maybe he's just a politician like every other politician. Maybe he's just trying to impress. But over time, I got to know that this is who Zulum is. The man is not pretending. That is him. You cannot have 30 minutes conversation with Zulum without him talking about one project or the other. So it tells you that the man is a progressive in nature. He is developmental in nature. He's someone who wants to make impact. He goes to bed thinking about Borno. He wakes up thinking about Borno. He eats, he drinks, thinking about Borno. And all of this drives his passion for development. And then I think talking about the 10-pact agenda, you know that from day one, while he was campaigning, he had his blueprint or a projection of what he wanted to achieve. And don't forget that soon after he became governor, 2 days after he was sworn in, he started a tour of 27 local government areas. I think he started with Goza, if I'm right. He went to Goza on 31st of May. Then from there, he came back to Bama and Konduga, and then continued. He went around 27 local government areas, even though he had some knowledge of most of the things while he was commissioner for RRR. But of course, there were areas he couldn't have known because maybe they didn't have to do with his office, at that time. So while he became governor, he went around on a needs assessment. So he armed himself with knowledge and understanding of the peculiarities of each of the 27 local government in terms of their needs. And then he also had consultations with key stakeholders, like members of state assemblies representing each local government, the members of House of Reps and senators representing constituencies, the commissioners, former office holders, other key stakeholders. So he did a lot of consultation to identify the priorities of each local government area. So he was armed with all of that, and then that's why he keeps moving. And one thing he keeps saying, which is really important, the governor would always tell you that what makes the private sector succeed over the public sector is the absence of supervision at the public sector level. He will give you an instance. You could find a teacher, for instance, who is teaching in a public school. Maybe he earns 30,000 or 40 or 50,000 or even more than that. And you discover that that teacher doesn't go to class to teach. But you discover that the same teacher might be doing a lesson for someone, maybe in a private home, where he's being given 10,000 naira as salary. But that teacher never misses, the lesson. The reason is because if he doesn't come, the mother of the child or the father would call him. So what Zulum ensures is strict supervision. That's why you see him appearing at project site 1 a.m. He goes to hospitals at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. He appears in schools 6 a.m. That is the kind of supervision, and it works a lot. It energizes workers, it keeps everybody on his toes, and that's why you're seeing the results.
The state government has continued to show enormous support to the military. Now, tell us what non-kinetic approach the state is adopting to sustain the gains recorded so far.
Governor Zulum, from day one, as part of the 10-pack agenda, did say that he was going to combine kinetic and non-kinetic responses. And then the kinetic responses, which, within the first week he became governor, he increased the salary or the allowances of civilian JTFs. He ordered the recruitment of thousands of hunters. He got them a lot of vehicles, and deployed them. And then, the army itself has regularly acknowledged that the governor gives overwhelming support to the military, especially through, gathering of information that often leads to actionable intelligence in addition to logistic support. Now, the non-kinetic is good leadership. One of the things that you achieve as a leader is being able to inspire people. And you can only inspire people when people believe in you, when they trust you. So the governor has earned that confidence. And then, of course, you know that the governor is always is the chief humanitarian officer of Borno State. Nobody can count the number of times Zulum has visited communities for humanitarian intervention. We're in Malari, where he went to flag off a resettlement and humanitarian support to a number of people. So the governor, part of the advantages of doing that is that you make people to believe in the system, you discourage them from even contemplating joining the insurgents. Because frustration and hopelessness can actually lead someone to become a criminal. Where, for instance, the governor, ignores IDPs who are homeless, who are displaced, they don't have anything to do, and somebody comes with a proposition that, look, you could join us as a spy, be giving Boko Haram or ISWAP some information, they'll be giving you X amount of money per month. You could have an economic-driven membership of the insurgents. You know that we have had instances where some women were being paid as little as 10,000 to ferry rifles. We have had a situation where some young men were given 5,000 naira to set schools ablaze. So what the governor is doing is deploying serious economic responses in terms of supporting victims of terror, in terms of jobs creation, in terms of empowerment. That's why you see anytime you say that Zulum has taken 50 million, 100 million to divide. All of these incentives is to give people a reason to believe in the system, is to empower them, no matter how level, in such a way that it's impossible for insurgents to attract them with small amount of money. Because that 5, 10, 20,000, 50,000 that he gives to people, some people may see it as nothing. But let's also remember that some people were attracted with as little as 5, 10,000 naira to work for insurgents. So this is part of the non-kinetic approach. And of course, you know that the governor has been advocating for insurgents to surrender their arms. So after Shekhar was killed, the governor thought that we should seize an opportunity. He increased his advocacy to the insurgents for them to join, and then we seized an opportunity. Some of them began to join, and they saw leadership in the governor. They saw sincerity in the governor, and they realized that whatever Zulum says, he's not the kind of person who will speak from both sides of his mouth. When Zulum gave him their words that, look, when you guys surrender, inshallah, nothing will happen to you. And some of them came and they realized that they are actually safe, and then they started calling their colleagues from the bush to surrender. And that is why you see relative peace in the Bama-Banki axis. It's because majority of those insurgents who have surrendered are from Bama-Banki axis. And alhamdulillah, we are getting more of them from other axes. You know, you heard of ISWAP, about 104 ISWAP families surrendering. So these are part of the non-kinetic approach, and they are driven by the governor because of confidence that people have in him, because he's discouraging people from joining, and those who join have some level of protection. Because like the governor would always ask, okay, what do we do? Should we punish somebody who has done something, which is really important? This is what we prefer. But the fact of the matter is that it is a difficult choice that we are making because the war has protracted. So the governor would ask, okay, what do we do? Should we say that, okay, any Boko Haram member, we must prosecute them, and then some of them who want to leave, we say, okay, it's better we join ISWAP to go and kill more people. Then do we secure the lives of more people, or do we insist on punishing them? Because by the time you are able to get 1 or 2 Boko Haram members to drop their arms, you have potentially saved the lives of people. So you ask yourself, which is more important? Is the punishment more important than saving the life of people? Anytime you see a government accepting a political solution to criminality, is an admittance of the complexity of the challenge. And this has been what we have been advocating, in the last 10 years. You know that since the days of the late Eradua, there has been that advocacy. Because you must fight the ideology, and you cannot fight a complex group like that with only one method.
Positive innovation is what distinguishes a true leader and a ruler. That's our package on this episode of Borno Restoration. Thanks for watching. I am Jessie Tofida. See you next time. Bye-bye.